name is Vic. This is my podcast. Welcome to episode 17 of Vicsplaining. Thank you so much for coming back. Man. Oh my God. When I posted 2 weeks ago, my goodness, I legitimately recorded the last podcast episode on the day before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And in that moment, when the assassination happened, I was like, oh my God, this is something that I definitely would talk about on Vicsplaining. Maybe I should just start recording. And so I actually did record that week because I was talking to my mom, being like, maybe I should just go ahead and record because it's getting kind of crazy. And she was like, yeah, go ahead, get it out there. But then I thought against it because I was like, this situation is developing. Let me sit back, see what happens, and then I'll go on the regular timing. Like I'll do it like the week of, because what I usually do is I record early in the week, and then as the week goes on, like I cue it to post at the end of the week, Thursday at the earliest, Saturday at the latest. And so I was like, you know what, it's fine. Like I got to keep up with these events. But I was like, you know what, Vic, the way that the news cycle has been going on, let's sit and wait and see if something else happens. And boy, has it. Oh my gosh. Looking back at the last episode, I mean, I really liked the last episode because I got to talk a lot about the music industry. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this one as well, referring to the whole situation with the artist David. But just looking back on it, that was such an innocent episode compared to like the amount of shit that has happened in the tail end of September. I don't know what is going on. Let me reel it back in. What's going on is that things like this always happen. It just feels like a lot because we have the internet to keep us up to date, up to the second on everything. And I kind of want to talk about that too. I have so much to talk to you guys about. So first off, before I really jump into everything that's happened in the news cycle, I want to talk a little bit about myself, what's been going on, because I've been doing a lot of shit lately. One of the most interesting things that happened to me recently is that I went to Philadelphia for the first time. I went for my friend's wedding, and it's super fun to talk about this because when I went up there with my partner, he was like, oh, these are friends from school. These are friends from like work or something. I was like, something like that. I met them on Hamilton Tumblr when I was writing Hamilton fan fiction. And we have maintained a friendship for nearly a decade now, to the point that I've been invited to their wedding. And it was so cute and fun, and I really enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed the fact that like both of the people who were getting married are non-binary, and I, as a non-binary person who's getting married, I don't know what that's supposed to look like because there's no cultural scripts that exist around this. A lot of the cultural scripts around marriage are around like religion and very deeply ingrained gender ideas. I was at the roller derby this last weekend. And, roller derby, lots of lesbians. And I was hanging out with my lesbian friends, and I was describing the wedding, and I described them as the bride and groom because those were the roles that the two non-binary people in the wedding were kind of taking on. And my friend, who is a lesbian, laughed at me, and they were like, oh my God, like, why are you calling them the bride and groom? And I was like, that's the roles that they took on. They were like, there doesn't have to be a bride and groom just because it's a wedding. And I agree 100%. However, I think what's interesting about non-binary identity is that you can take on those roles if you want. And I do believe that those are the roles they were trying to portray. But also, they kind of clocked me because it's like, it doesn't have to be a bride and groom. It doesn't have to be a bride and bride. It doesn't have to be a groom and groom. People are just getting married. And I think it's just difficult because I have been siloed so deeply into the gendered institution that is marriage that I'm kind of letting these categories take over my brain and segment it in a way that it doesn't have to be segmented. So it was really interesting for all the gender nerd shit, but it was more interesting because I have never met these people like face to face in my life. But the second we met, it was like we just went in lockstep. Like it felt like, I mean, I have known these people for years, but it felt like, we have seen each other and we've interacted person to person for years prior. So it was just a great wedding. It was a beautiful time to be up there. I love urban planning and cityscapes, and I think that Philadelphia has one of the most beautiful skylines I've ever seen. So sorry, Atlanta. I love the Atlanta skyline, especially the view from Jackson Street Bridge. If you know, you know. But that Philadelphia skyline, I had to take at least like 50 pictures across all apps. I was like, this is gorgeous. I love urban planning. I love urban architecture. And the sidewalks in Philly are so wide. They're very people centered and not as car dependent in a way that I really, really appreciate that Atlanta just hasn't seemed to hack yet because Atlanta loves corporations and not people. And in Atlanta, corporations are people. So anyway, love you, love you, love you, Philadelphia. I love my friends. I'm so happy for them. They should be on their honeymoon as we are speaking right now. And I wish them the best. And if you want to invite me, please invite me to your weddings. I love a good wedding. Oh my gosh. People are so harsh to people who don't want to just elope. Like, I feel like it's a trauma response because I think a lot of people feel guilty for wanting the big fairy tale-esque wedding. And I say big subjectively because like I don't think a lot of the weddings that I've been to are necessarily big, but they're bigger than a lot of the millennials and Gen Z that I know of that are interested. First off, a majority of my friends, a majority of the people that I interact with are not interested in getting married or having children at all, which I completely respect. Power to the people, ally, hashtag, talk Valentina, all that. But for those of us that do, often because the economy is so bad, we are encouraged like to elope and leave it at that. And I just don't gel with that. I'm a big party person. I love throwing parties in general. I will throw a party for literally anything. And I just, when it comes to something as important as like I get it. It feeds into patriarchy. It feeds into all these like institutions like allonormativity and cis heterosexuality. Like I get it. I really, really do. But something about an open bar and like all the cheese and crackers you could eat and like flowers everywhere and everyone's it's so great. It's so great. I loved that wedding. It was awesome. It was really awesome. So yeah, that was probably the highlight of the past few weeks. And in this world where the news cycle is going fucking nuts and sad things are happening every day, you really gotta find what you like. And I've said this so many times on this podcast, but you really have to find what you like and grab onto it with your whole life force. Because, oh my gosh, like, keeping on the positives. Let's stay on the positives for a second. What else did I do? Oh, like I mentioned, I went to the roller derby over this weekend. My friend was in it and their team won. I was very excited, very proud of them. I got to see one of my friends that is from out of town, and she also works in abortion. She's also an abortion provider, so it was really cool to see her. It's really cool to see people who work in abortion that are not working in my specific field because it keeps me grounded to the amount of barriers that exist in other areas of the country. Because I think I get so bogged down with how strict abortion access is here in the South that I forget a lot of the other barriers that exist across the pond. Well, not across the pond, but like across the country and like in other states, in states that have higher EGA limits than the states that I'm in Georgia, in the South in general. But it keeps me grounded in that way. It keeps me grounded to reality. So it was really nice to see her. And then I did something else. I had a bridesmaid boot camp, which I knew I didn't come up with that term. I didn't know where the term came from, but I looked it up because I was like, maybe I'm jacking somebody's flow. What is a bridesmaid boot camp? Oh my gosh, guys, it's like a dieting thing. It's like a everybody, we're gonna work out and lose weight and do. That is not at all what I intended by the term bridesmaid boot camp. I just had a nearly 5-hour presentation that I did for my bridesmaids. All my bridesmaids flew into Atlanta. It was great. We all flew in. I got them food and we all sat around and we just, I talked about my expectations, and y'all know me, I'm very type A. These colors, these locations, this financial expectation, this, that, and the third. And it was so fun because I picked such a good group of people to work with. And I never had a doubt about that. But it feels so nice to have something that you plan out and you're so seen and people are so like, I'm with you, Vic. Just tell me what we need to do. Just tell me what. It was so great. It was a really fun time. I feel like like a middle-aged woman when I say this, but I made this loaded brie dip and I cut up little baguettes for lunch. Oh my gosh, it was perfect. Like everything, like things don't go well for me often, like in my interpersonal life. Like usually I'll do something and then it's like something happens that it fucks up. And so it was so nice to have everything fall into place and everything just be nice and symbiotic and everyone's getting along. Like, I mean, I'm sure most of that is just like, let's put a smile on our face and like do this for Vic. But I really believe that like I just chose a really good group of people that mesh really well together. And I don't have a wedding planner. I am my wedding planner. So to know that this is already so symbiotic so far ahead of time is so nice. And I'm very excited about it. So yeah, that was my past few weeks, and I had a good time. I've been clubbing. Me and my friends, we went to the Chattahoochee and we spent some time there. Like I have had a really good past few weeks. I've been just trying to do as much as possible to not so much distract. Like I'm not like I guess I am engaging in a bit of escapism, but it's like I am still engaging fully with the political world, with the news. Like I'm not one of those people that's like, "Oh, you can't watch the news nowadays because everything's so negative." That's life. Um but more so that I am creating more positive memories in my personal life so that it makes the things that are part of life much easier to cope with, if that makes sense. Um So I'm having a good time. I'm chilling. Uh the stories that I'm going to go into today are definitely like background noise to a lot of that stuff. Um Probably the most serious of them being the Charlie Kirk story, and I'll get into that right now. Like what is going on. So, the Charlie Kirk situation. I think that the how do I want to say this? I think the conversation around the idea of whether or not Charlie Kirk deserved to be killed in the manner that he did, I think that that is deeply uninteresting. And I think that it is a false flag for the conversation that we should actually be having. Because Charlie Kirk lived his life understanding that this risk existed. That's it. He did not believe in the concept of empathy, and he believed that gun deaths were a fair trade-off for the maintenance of the Second Amendment in America.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal.
Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time.
So I don't think it's a interesting conversation to be like, did he deserve to die, or did he deserve to die in the way that he died? I don't think that's an interesting conversation. I think the more interesting conversation that a lot of people don't want to have is the fact that this is necropolitics in action. And what I mean by that is that this was never supposed to occur to someone like Charlie Kirk. And that is the reason that it feels like the powers that be are in a tailspin. I saw this TikTok earlier this week that said that the world's not ending, things aren't, whatever. Power shifts happen all the time. It's just that shifting power disturbs things so much that it feels like collapse. But in reality, it's just power is shifting to different groups of people.
So while mainstream media frames it as chaos, the deeper truth is this. What looks like collapse is often just power shifting. Indonesia asserting control over its resources, global stances on Israel and Palestine, even people like Luigi, stories which the public have resisted manipulation and then have amplified majority shared views. Those are not signs of disorder. They're actually signals of a very energetic global public and of real change unfolding in front of us.
And like I was saying, it was never supposed to happen to him. Not as in like it wasn't specifically supposed to happen to Charlie Kirk, but more so we are not supposed to be living in a nation where a white cisgender heterosexual man who is rich, who makes money, actively makes money off of subjugating groups of people, is to be killed like that, publicly executed in the manner that he was. And it's just like something really interesting that a lot of people are doing also is they're saying like, oh, if you think what happened to Charlie Kirk was gruesome, imagine what a child is seeing when they have to see their classmates being slaughtered in schools like this. Again, it was never supposed to be Charlie Kirk. That is the reason that the powers that be are in a tailspin. It's supposed to be children in schools. It's supposed to be Palestinians getting bombed and shot when they're trying to get aid from food trucks. It's supposed to be Black children that live in ghettos and other segmented areas of the inner city or of the United States. It's supposed to be people in the Congo. It's supposed to be people in Sudan. It's supposed to be Muslims. It's supposed to be brown people. It's supposed to be undocumented people. It was never supposed to be the proper citizen, Charlie Kirk. Because beyond all of the groups that I put him in of the majority, he is also very wealthy. So there's a class element to this that a lot of rich people are not comfortable with. And so that's why the conversation has been whitewashed into, do you think that people deserve to be killed for their political beliefs? Because that's not what happened. If we existed in a sane country that had proper gun laws, this wouldn't have happened. And that's the other thing that really pisses me off about this conversation is that left or right, conservative, liberal, left of liberal, right of conservative, it don't fucking matter. If we existed in a country that didn't immediately go to gun violence whenever we have an issue with something, this wouldn't have happened. So we never want to get to the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is it doesn't matter if Charlie Kirk was sitting on stage begging for someone to shoot him. In the event that we lived in a country with sane gun laws and proper gun control, that wouldn't have happened. And this is where I lose a lot of leftists because I don't consider myself a liberal. I consider myself a leftist. Don't ask me if I'm like a tanky or Marxist, Leninist, or any. I don't know. I do not know. You can anarcho-communist. I don't know. I have sympathies for the socialist and communist cause. I don't think that the average American understands what communism is. For example, Kamala Harris recently went on an interview with, I think, Rachel Maddow and accused Trump of being a communist dictator, when it's like, if this was communism, everybody would be fucking fed. You know what I mean? Like, everybody would have a home. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But all that being said, I don't officially identify with anything political other than leftism. And I don't mean the leftism they're talking about in the news, because if you consider Black people and you identify with any set of pronouns, not just if you're trans, like if you are cisgender and you use she, her, or he, him pronouns, they consider you a radical leftist. I am a genuine leftist in the most purest academic form, right? Non-denominational, non-dogmatic. All right, cool. We got that established. All of that being said, a lot of leftists don't want to question the Second Amendment because specifically they know the history of the Black Panthers and they know the history of all these other groups of people that were systemically suppressed for their interest in arming themselves. And so the idea is, in the leftist canon, we can't have gun control because everyone needs to be able to have their own gun. In the event that there is a revolt, you need to be able to defend yourself. And gun control, because of the systems that are in place, usually target minorities. I don't disagree with any of that. Well, I don't disagree with the second part. And this proves itself time and time again. Back in the 1960s and 70s, it was Black people. When the Black Panthers were arming themselves and they were, displaying their guns in an effort to portray strength and retaliation, immediately people started talking about gun control because they were like, we can't let these Negroes have guns. They're doing the exact same thing to transgender people now, and they tried to do that in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, immediately trying to malign the shooter with the trans community, even though there's no correlation whatsoever. First it was, oh, Nancy Mace's stupid fucking ass was immediately like, oh, this person is trans, using a transphobic slur that's often used against trans women. And then as soon as it was revealed that it was a cisgender white man, oh, we need to pray for him. So first the shooter was trans, then, okay, he was radicalized on transgender websites, and the bullets were inscripted with transgender ideology because it used a joke that furries say sometimes. And then it became, oh, the roommate is trans and that's his trans lover and he did it for... And it's not like they weren't doing this before Charlie Kirk got shot, because they were already talking about, RFK was going on about like, oh, there's possibly a link between transgender drugs, meaning HRT, that's used for cisgender people too. I don't know if this is a newsflash to you, but they use testosterone treatments for cisgender women that are going through menopause, for example, or cis men that are going through low T 50s and onward. Like there's actually a lot of different uses for HRT in the medical field that don't directly have to do with transgender people. Not that medicine has to cater to cisgender people for us to care about it, but I just want to make that clear that like there's certain things that happen that, oh, this is transgender ideology, and then when they happen to cisgender people, they're like, this is normal and this is how it's supposed to go. Shut the fuck up. Give me a break. Okay? They were already doing this with trans people, trying to ban them from guns. They were Trump specifically said they were trying to ban transgender people, specifically transsexual people, meaning those who are transitioning from, but it would soon encompass everybody who relates to the trans cause. Let me be clear. But they were trying to malign these people already and create them into scapegoats so that they can't have access to their Second Amendment rights. I fully understand that, and I understand where people are going with that. But I think that American leftists cannot understand their obsession with guns and how deeply rooted, that love for guns is in American culture, because it's actually not normal to be like, but you can't take our guns under any circumstance. Why not? I don't know. And that's where I always disagree with leftists. I think that disagreeing within community is normal and good. It's what differentiates us from the conservatives, the alt-right, the Republicans, but from the cultist. But this is a hard line for some people. Some people really, really just, some people are accelerationist. Because, we've been talking about groypers on the right wing. There's these type on the left as well. Well, groypers aren't really right or left wing. They have right wing ideology, but they are just kind of like the chaotic neutrals of the world. They kind of just do everything for the lulz. Like, they don't really give a shit about anything. You know what I mean? That's not really the leftist accelerationist that I'm talking about. Leftist accelerationists want to blow everything up, and they want to do so that there's retaliatory action against, whatever happens. And then eventually this whole system will crumble. And then on the ashes of that, we will build a new system. Theoretically, I get where they're coming from. Selfishly, though, I want to maintain the safety of my friends, my family, and my community. So if that means, hey, I don't think that the average Joe on the American street should have access to killing machines, I actually think that's okay. And I can't say that I am too upset about it. I gotta be honest with you. So that's something that I don't think anybody left, right, or center wants to acknowledge, is that America, not the right wing, because the right wing has the NRA and it has the gun right, but I think that generally most of America, regardless of your political leanings, has an infatuation with guns and gun violence that is just not really talked about. And if we want to keep saying like, oh, well, we can have guns, we need to have common sense gun laws and gun control. That's not going to prevent shootings. That's not going to completely halt shootings, but it could prevent some. And it could, and then the whole argument that people want to have is like, oh yeah, because laws stop criminals all the time. Criminals are going to do what they want to do regardless. Yeah, but why should we just open the door wide for them to just do whatever they want? We don't do that with much else. But when it comes to guns, because the NRA has all these politicians bought and sold, and these lobbyists live on hundreds of thousands of dollars, you that make like $60,000 a year are sitting here arguing with me on the internet why you need to have your pistol. That makes no fucking sense. And in the event that the military does want to shut us down, the military, the federal government, the FBI, the CIA, if you think your little pistol, or even those people that hoard them in the South, because I've seen them, I've lived near them. The people that hoard thousands upon thousands of assault rifles, if you think that is stopping a military grade tank or any of the crazy fucking Israeli technology that the government has in store right now, you are out of your goddamn mind. So yeah, oh, the left's trying to take our guns. I am. Take them. I don't care anymore. And it's like, I don't understand the pearl clutching on the right wing when it's like everything in your rhetoric encourages people to take up arms and rise against tyranny. You just didn't think it would happen to you. You didn't think it would happen to somebody that looked like you. And it just so happened to happen to the guy that was the spokesperson for the Second Amendment, for freedom of speech, for public execution. You got to give me a break. That is hilarious. Not like his death is hilarious, but you have to talk about the irony of the situation. You have to acknowledge that. Because if it happened to somebody on the left wing, the right would be cackling. And I'm not cackling. It's a sad situation. It's sad that this country is so bankrupt and people run immediately to guns that some guy just decided, I'm going to snipe this dude from hundreds of yards away. But you can't lie about the irony of the situation. And the reaction that has occurred to people who are acknowledging that irony in the recent weeks has been so despicable. Oh my gosh. The party, you know, they always say for the left wing and the Democratic Party, oh, so much for the tolerant left, so much for the tolerant Democrats, all this kind of stuff, so much for the freedom of speech. Because why is it that there's a whole website that I'm probably going to be on by the time I post this that is dedicated to getting people fired from their jobs for their comments on the death of Charlie Kirk, as if he didn't comment on people getting killed all the time? He joked about Palestinians being bombed in Gaza. He joked about George Floyd. He joked about all of these different people being killed in these very tragic instances of political violence. And then he was the victim of said political violence. You can't tell me that's not, even if you're not bowling over with laughter, you can't tell me that's not at least a little bit ironic. So anyway, before I get into the free speech bit a little more, I want to talk about my initial reaction, because what a time to be a office worker. You're sitting there, la la la, doing my work for once, and I just start getting texts like crazy saying someone shot Charlie Kirk. Someone shot Charlie Kirk already is like, whoa. But someone shot Charlie Kirk at a Turning Point USA, you know, change my mind, debate me type thing in Utah? The land of the Mormons? What's going on? The white on white violence is getting out of control, because that was immediately where my brain went. Utah? No. There's a radical leftist of color that's sniping. No. I saw this one tweet that said, any leftist or anybody left of liberal wouldn't have been able to be this silent about their political ideology for this long. So we know that he's somewhat center or right. I thought that was so funny, because that's so true. But there's so much I want to say about this shooting. For one, the inscriptions on the bullets were nonsense, but you wouldn't understand that nonsense if you were over the age of 30. So watching the legacy media try to like reason that into something was so obnoxious. I'm like, dude, these are memes. It means nothing. Please stop. It's leftist transgender ideology to say notice his bulge. Ooh woo, what's this? And it's like OWO, not ooh woo, but it's like the face. You know what I mean? The little glomp you face. Like, I was like, this is radical transgender ideology. That's news to me. And I have the radical transgender ideology degree. You know what I mean? Oh my God, give me a break. But anyway, back to my initial reaction. So I'm getting all these texts. Immediately, the immediate moment that I saw that it was Charlie Kirk, I called my best friend. The reason being, I told you guys in an episode way back that I grew up on the old internet that had no censorship, the old internet that had you on chat rooms with 38-year-old men when you were like 11 years old, asking them ASL, which just means age, sex, location. You know what I mean? Like old school internet where it was like, the current internet is still not for kids, but they pretend they're for kids, and they pretend that the level of censorship that is coming around these social media platforms are for the good of children, when in reality, it's just carcerality sneaking up into our personal lives and trying to monitor us, and, you know, Palantir, surveillance, CIA, blah, blah, blah. The old internet actually did not give a shit about kids, and they didn't pretend to give a shit about kids. You just saw whatever. So between me going to Barbie.com or CartoonDollEmporium.com to do dress-up games, I'm seeing penis. I'm seeing asshole. I'm seeing screamer videos and scary shit from 4chan, Kiwi Farms. What is that one that's not really that popular anymore, but it was real big when I was on the internet? Encyclopedia Dramatica, all of that shit full of just like ironic non-normies being like, who can we terrorize today, and how can we blame it on Black and trans people? You know what I mean? That was the internet I grew up on. And because of that, and because I am under the age of 30, Charlie Kirk is very influential to me and my best friend specifically because we watched the shift. We watched the shift from everything's fucking funny to there being a split between those that gave a shit about things, the SJWs, and then those who want to see the world burn, the anti-SJWs, social justice warrior if you are under the age of 25. And so we have been tortured, borderline, by people like Charlie Kirk for years. Charlie Kirk, I'm not trying to give him that much credit, but I would credit him for him being the reason that political discourse is the way that it is on the internet. He is the reason for the Hassans, the Dean Withers, the Destinies, the Voshes of the world, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum. White guy yells at cloud. White guy gets into debate about the age of consent. It's Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. They are the reason that every white dude under the age of 30 talks like that when it comes to politics. And it's so upsetting that it's just like you, and so it was so crazy. Like I was on the phone with my best friend talking about this because like he knew, I didn't have to go through it. I didn't have to go through our history. Like he knew what I was saying when I was like, I think they're getting Charlie Kirk up out of here. But it was so interesting because the president has made it now, the president and as a result his administration have made it now that everybody has to give a shit about Charlie Kirk. There are people who had no idea that this whole other political world existed getting into the conversation. So like I said earlier, I was in Philadelphia and I was walking around the streets of Philadelphia with my partner. We just got cheesesteaks at Gino's, if that means anything to you. Pretty good, pretty decent. If I wasn't on a diet, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But I'm walking the streets and my father calls me and I answer the phone. I'm like, hey. And I said, hi, what's up? I'm walking through Philly. He says, what are you doing up in Philly? I said, oh, I'm here for a wedding. And he says, oh, I thought you were just going to assassinate someone. Not a funny joke. Way too soon. Chill out. The NSA is probably already on my line. And he was like, I'm just joking. Did you even know who this Charlie Kirk guy is? And I'm like, yes, I did. For me, I'm only 3 years younger than Charlie Kirk. Like, yes, I do know who Charlie Kirk is. This is a big deal. I don't know if I would go as far to, no, I would. I've been shying away from the word assassinated, but like, I get it. I do think that Trump and his ilk are making it a little more than it actually is, but I get it. You know what I mean? But my dad is military. My mom is military. My step-parents are military. So, and they don't watch YouTube or SJW-owned compilations or feminist cries like bullshit online. They don't know about Jubilee. They don't know about Common Ground. They don't know about TikTok lives or Debate Me or Change My Mind or Steven Crowder. They don't know any of that shit. So all my dad wants to know is why is he driving through DC and all of the flags are half-mast for a civilian? And that's really what's interesting to me. Not only the ways in which discursive power manifest in the political sphere, but also the generation gap that Charlie Kirk reveals. Because for me, eldest Gen Z and millennials, Charlie Kirk is the reason that I said guys under 30. I mean like everybody that's like 14 years old to like 35. Why most white men that are I said 13, I meant 14. Or did I say 14? Whatever. 14 years old to 35 years old, why they talk like that. Because everybody wants to posture that themselves in that way of like racism, but put it through a filter of propagandizing that sounds logical to the common middle American. And that's so sick and twisted to me. It's so disturbing. Man. And it still hasn't hit me. Like every time I see somebody talking about Charlie Kirk, because now I'm seeing people who I never knew who Charlie Kirk was talking about him. Now that I see people talking about him like the way that they are, it still hasn't hit me that this guy is dead. You know what I mean? Part of it also being that, you know, there's a church, I believe in Texas, don't quote me on that. I'll put it over the screen. But there's a church that did an AI rendition of Charlie Kirk speaking, being like, don't mourn me, I'm in a better place, all this kind of stuff. So I don't even think it's gotten through a lot of conservatives' heads that he has died either. You know what I mean? But yeah. Oh my gosh. Every time I see a new thing about Charlie Kirk, my brain immediately goes, I wonder what Charlie Kirk thinks about this. That is how rotted him and his ilk have made my brain. Being a political person on the internet who is anything left of liberal has been made a living hell by Charlie Kirk. And it's so crazy to think about the fact that he's been gone. I do not condone the manner in which he was killed, but I do want to say that, again, violence begets violence. And until we get some gun control in this country, it doesn't matter what part of the political spectrum you lie on, this is going to continue to happen. And by not passing any common sense gun laws in this country, the country is saying this is actually okay. So it's very difficult for me to watch people losing their jobs, losing their licenses, getting kicked out of school, getting all of these repercussions happening to them because of this, when it's like the country literally consistently tells you all but I was about to say all but words, but they use words too. They use words to, you know, rile people up that they know don't have like adequate mental health services or adequate anger, you know, suppression or management skills that have access to some of the most powerful weapons in the world just at your local grocery store. More people have access to guns versus having access to food with the amount of food deserts that exist in this country. You know, it's very, very difficult to watch the moral grandstanding from these people that have continuously made it their life's mission to get people so fucking angry that they go and pick up a gun and they take it out on whoever they deem to be the victim that day. It's very, very difficult to really see the lines of logic. And people talking about decorum or respect or all this kind of stuff when the president of the United States and his administration have immediately jumped to galvanizing their base and immediately jumped to politicizing this entire tragedy, as they call it. It's just hard to take seriously. I don't think that Trump gave a shit about Charlie Kirk as a person. I think that, and vice versa, I think that Charlie Kirk knew what he could get out of Trump and the Trump administration. And I think a lot of Charlie Kirk's followers believed that eventually Charlie Kirk would like transition out of shock jock radio, podcasting, YouTube, TV, and then become either a member of Donald Trump's cabinet or the next president of the United States. Because he was 31. He only had 4 more years and he could have ran to be the president. And he probably would have won because he's such a good propagandist that's so good at stringing words together and making it seem like it makes sense. And a lot of people with the education rate in this country and the literacy rate, why can I not talk today? The literacy rate in this country declining so, fall for it. There's so many people that have already bought into this narrative. Do you think somebody should be killed just because of the things that they say? No. But you think that, and the people that you follow think that, and you're just behaving as if this is so shocking to you because they're telling you, they're giving you the playbook for deniable plausibility, just like a Nazi. Anyways, not to talk about that man anymore. Let's talk about the fallout. This Jimmy Kimmel situation has been so crazy to me because, so you guys do know how to boycott. You guys do value boycotting, because I have been boycotting these companies for a very long time. I will admit, I have used Disney Plus. Not my Disney Plus. I don't have a Disney Plus account, but I have used Disney Plus. But the speed with which most of middle white America has been like, we're gonna boycott. I'm like, where were y'all for the past 2 years? Where have y'all been? Because people have been boycotting shit this whole time. I understand that the BDS list, the boycott, divest, and sanction list, is difficult to surmount if you are a mindless consumer in the manner in which the American government wants you to behave. If you just consume because everybody else is doing it, or you feel like whatever, I can understand that taking a stance on something may feel a little difficult, but the ways in which, and let me be very, very, very clear with what I'm saying. I am never, ever, ever gonna be against somebody boycotting something. I got into it with my friend because we had a disagreement over the one-day boycott that happened back in February, where everybody was like, I'm just going to stop buying stuff. And she was telling me, well, people depend on tips. People are going to, people need to go to restaurants, all this kind of stuff. And I said, that's cool, fine and dandy, but I'm not doing it today because we're all doing a mass boycott. And she was just like, well, it's not sustainable, and there needs to be more and all this kind of stuff. I understand all of that, but like, the majority of America are liberals or moderates. Not even, I don't even think I would put that name on it. I was talking about this with my partner just yesterday. The majority of people in the United States don't give a shit, because that's how they're trained to be. They're trained to be like, oh, don't talk about religion or politics. And they don't think deeper than that notion. They don't think deeper than, oh, my parents told me what to think, or my spouse has told me what to think, usually a husband. Like, they don't like to actually make their own opinion. You know what I mean? So whenever there is a boycott, even if it's something so itty bitty tiny, I'm always going to encourage that. So I'm not against the fact that this boycott occurred and Disney lost nearly $4 billion in a week. I am not against that at all. I'm not against the fact that, these demands were made so quickly that even though Sinclair Broadcasting is still not broadcasting Jimmy Kimmel on certain stations, so there's certain parts of the country that are not able to see Jimmy Kimmel. I am not against the fact that they made their demands and they were so quickly met because of the amount of people that were doing things. I am just upset because I have been boycotting things for a while, and I have been, I've been boycotting Target since this February, and I will never go to Target again. I've been boycotting Starbucks and Burger King and McDonald's and all these other things that are on the BDS list since October of 2023. And every time I talk about wanting to boycott things, there's somebody that falls right into line with the American project, goes, sir, yes, sir, that says it's just too impractical to boycott. We need these things. They're too ingrained in everyday life that you just have to do these things. And we just need Amazon. We just need Target. Oh, there was nowhere else I could go but Walmart. Yet y'all prove that you can do it. So why don't you continue to do it? That pisses me off. I'm not trying to be that person that's always like, oh, I'm always right, I'm always this, but the amount of people that have told me straight up, I'm not going to boycott that, and then they found it in them to do it for this situation, really bother me. And part of me understands it. Part of me wants to come to the table, meet you where you're at, and I understand your immediate needs have been infringed upon. Your immediate rights have been infringed upon. You can't process the fact that if they will do this to Palestinian people or people in the Congo or people in these other areas that are full of brown and black people, that they can do it to you just as easily, because that's too many steps, because y'all don't think. But when you immediately see, like I said about Charlie Kirk, it was never supposed to be him. It was never supposed to be Jimmy Kimmel being off the air. Plus, Jimmy Kimmel is he so moderate. He's so, like, I know he probably identifies more so with center left, but he is so dead down the middle. Like, he doesn't say anything revolutionary or whatever, but they still try to get him because this country is so deeply right wing and so deeply entrenched in the right wing that you think that people saying common sense shit are left. It was never supposed to be him. It was never supposed to be a cisgender heterosexual white man that just sits there and tells milquetoast jokes on late night. That's too far. For a lot of people, they were like, that's just ridiculous. Stand up against fascism. Give me a fucking break. In line for the next fucking iPhone. Going to get a fucking Grimace shake from McDonald's. I don't even know what they sell anymore. It's been so long since I've eaten McDonald's. You know, excited for the new pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. But Jimmy Kimmel? That's too far. I can understand ethnic cleansing, but I draw the line at late night shows. You guys are fucking pathetic. But again, I'm never gonna be down on somebody. I'm never gonna be down on somebody whacking Disney. Ever. The way they fucked up Star Wars and Marvel, yeah, I'm never gonna be down on anybody whacking Disney. But I really wish we could see this energy elsewhere. I really wish we could continue this energy into things that genuinely matter. Things that matter much more than TV shows that you put on for background noise or things that autoplay on your YouTube. You know what I mean? And my hands are not clean. I post this podcast to Spotify, which I have already talked about my criticisms of Spotify on this podcast, and I post them to YouTube. That is tied to Google. I understand. But what I'm saying is that you can minimize your involvement. You do not need these streaming services. You do not need an 800-calorie milkshake at fucking Starbucks. You do not need the latest, greatest, not so great iPhone. You can get refurbished shit. You can get, you can barter. You can figure things like, I think that people who are just like, oh, there's no way to get past this are being deeply dishonest about their own strength and the strength of collective action, and it's purposeful. And they have a lack of imagination. Just use your mind's eye to imagine a world in which this could exist and understand that you can grab life by the scrotum and decide that that's what it's going to be. I'm never going to go to a Disney park again. I've only gone to Disney one time. And that was when I was a kid. And it wasn't my choice. And they forced me on Space Mountain of all things. I fucking hate roller coasters. I don't know if I've ever said this on this show, but I hate roller coasters. When I have children, they will never go to Disney. Not just because I hate roller coasters and not just because of all these other things. I don't agree with the monopoly that they have. And I'm saying this also as a Marvel fan. You know what I mean? My partner is a big Star Wars fan. I don't care if they make fucking, Deadpool and Wolverine land down there. I'm not going. I don't support Disney. I never have, never will. And I'm still breathing and living. And that, that's the other thing that bothers me. I'm really scared that post this boycott, now that Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air partially, that some of these idiots are going to go back and resubscribe to Disney. Why would you do that? They literally showed you who they are. They showed you that they are willing to bend the knee to the president because we're not mourning a podcaster enough. What the fuck? Like, the same president that did not give a shit when the Speaker of the House up in, let me not say the wrong state with an M in it. I'm so sorry. Like, what is it? Oh my gosh, what is her name? See, I was going to say Michigan. I'm glad I looked it up. Minnesota. The Minnesota Speaker of the House was killed. Melissa Hortman. Her spouse, and her dog. Since white people give a shit more about animals a lot of the time than people of color, or like, they killed her husband, her dog in her house. And the flags were never half-mast. The president never condemned it. This happened this year. The only times that I've seen people talking about it are people on the left, or because they're talking about the double standard between a literal sitting Democratic politician versus a podcaster, the ways in which this country has reacted. Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked with a hammer in his house. And Donald Trump Jr. spoke publicly, joking about it to thousands of people. The standards in this country, it's so difficult to have these conversations with ghouls, literal fucking ghouls. People who love political violence in every other aspect. They love the fact that Gaza's getting bombed. They love the fact that Trump attacks his political enemies. They love the fact that he's back in office just to persecute people that he doesn't like. They love that. They love school shootings. They love when black people are killed. They love when genocides happen all around the world. But you mess with our Disney, and you mess with my favorite podcaster that thinks that black people are mentally and cognitively deficient, oh, you've crossed the line. Give me a break. It's so difficult. So to paint everybody with this broad brush of like the left doesn't mourn their political enemies. They don't mourn the opposition because they're ghoulish and they're evil and they're all this kind of stuff. When you do ghoulish and evil shit all the time, you are projecting. Trying to reason with these people makes no sense. Don't even try. And again, I said this at the beginning of this whole little monologue. Donald Trump does not give a shit about Charlie Kirk. Never has. He and Vance and everybody else, they give a shit about the fact that this, one, takes the attention away from the Epstein files, because hello, let's get back into that. And two, it allows them political leverage. The same ways in which George Bush utilized the tragedy of 9/11 to malign Muslims and allow for the war on terror. You know? Weapons of mass destruction, all this other bullshit. All this stuff that keeps black and brown people subjugated. Charlie Kirk was a useful idiot to Donald Trump. And now he's using him like a propagandist fleshlight in order to get things across for him. It's disturbing. And they're going to sit here and they're going to make you feel like you're the sicko for not giving a shit. Yeah. Anyways. Put these little twists in my hair and they're kind of annoying me, but now they're kind of sticking up like little devil horns, so I apologize for that. All right, let's get into this David situation. So, David. Who is David? First off, I didn't know who David was until SZA went on her SOS tour, because he was the opening act for a lot of her shows. And I asked somebody who is D4VD, and they were like, oh, he's this artist that does. Now, that's fine. I saw when I looked him up, he was a black guy. Okay. I did not know what his music sounded like because I never looked past that. I was just like, he's got the SZA cosign, very good for him. His music is very, very popular because I've heard it before. There was this trend on TikTok where you would show a group of your friends and it would like be in color, and then you would slow it down and turn black and white. So it's like, it would be like a group of like 4 people, for example, and like maybe everybody's 16 and they're like jumping and dancing, and then it would turn black and white, and like it would show that everybody else turned 30 but this person stayed 16, meaning like they died at 16. And so and it would have the David song in the background, specifically Here I Am, Here I Stay. What is that song called? It's the song that goes, I don't care how long it takes. What is that fucking song? Here With Me. That's what it is. Okay. Now, we're getting into the situation because like some of the lyrics of that song, like looking back, people are like, huh, that's kind of crazy. Okay, so that's the extent of my knowledge of David. I had no idea that when I scrolled through TikTok, I was hearing his music so often. David apparently is a 20-year-old man, black guy. This is the other thing. The other reason I didn't know that song was him was because I thought the Here With Me song was made by the same person that made that Golden Hour song, Jake, who is also popular on TikTok, and his music is also like very commonly in TikTok videos. Okay, cool. So I just it didn't calculate for me. But anyways, so black guy, he has the kind of like, he has that alt aesthetic that I actually really enjoy in men, but you gotta be careful with the type of men that take on that aesthetic. You know, the painted nails, really into like Sanrio characters like Hello Kitty or Kiyomi. Oh my god, my friend that loves Kiyomi is probably listening to this, pulling her fucking hair out. You know, cutesy stuff, goth, emo adjacent, that kind of thing, you know, spiky collar, I love that shit. I love an alt man. I love an alt man. I don't look the part, but like I have a lot of tattoos and I have quite a few piercings. You know, you can see the one, but I recently had to take out my nose piercing because it was hurting my nose. But I'm a very alt person. So usually I like that in men, but you do have to be careful because some of them are weirdos. A lot of them are weirdos, and not weird in the way that's like cool, weird that's in the way like David is. So he was on tour. He recently came out with his debut album. Like I said, Here With Me went triple fucking platinum on TikTok. He apparently also had another song called Romantic Homicide. That was also super popular. He has other music as well, but those are the two big ones that he has. And he recently came out with his debut album, Withered, earlier this year. And his deluxe album was set to come out on the 19th, September. Why was I talking like that? September 19th of this month. That was redundant. Sorry. I don't know why this is scrambling my brain. September 19th, which was last Friday. He was supposed to come out with the deluxe version of his album. On September 8th, a body was found in his Tesla. So there was a Tesla that was abandoned in Los Angeles, and a dead body was found in the back of it. And when I initially saw the alerts of it, because I was almost going to talk about this last episode, because last episode was so music heavy. I was talking about Cherub, I was talking about Lizzo. I was like, maybe I should also talk about this. But I kind of hesitated because there was no details out. So I didn't talk about it, but the initial conversation, because as soon as I saw, okay, there is a body in the back of this guy's car, I don't know anything about this guy. Up until this situation, I did not know that he made Here With Me. I didn't know what his music sounded like. I didn't know anything. I immediately thought, we don't know a lot about this guy, but there is a chance he did this. All of the comments prior to, I want to say September 11th, were like, no, that wasn't David. He didn't do this shit. He's such a nice guy. So I was like, I didn't want to respond to any of the messages because, you know, I'm the old guy at the party. I'm 8 years older than David, and which means I'm like 20 years older than his fans. I didn't want to be the one to be like, look, it doesn't matter who you stan or what's going on. You never know what literal skeletons people have in their closet, you know? So, but I didn't want to poop on the party because every other comment was like, he's being framed, or this is happening, or that is happening. So I just didn't say anything. I just sat back and observed. So half of my feed was about Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and the other half was about this David situation. Everyone was going up and down being like, yeah, I know for sure he didn't do this, blah, 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 blah. Then it was revealed who was in the trunk, whose body it was. And that's when all hell broke loose. They said that the body belonged to, I don't want to say her name incorrectly. Let me pull up her name. I'm so sorry. Okay, I knew it was Celeste. So the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in the back of his car. And a lot of people keep saying that she was 15. She's not 15. She's 14. She never got to turn 15 because the level of decomposition that was present in her body at the time of discovery was so much that she was only 71 pounds. So clearly she died prior to being put in the trunk. And the body was discovered early September. Her birthday, her 15th birthday, would have been September 7th, which is last Sunday, or Sunday before last. She died well before her birthday. And she's been a missing person since April of last year, 2024. So that's when things start, like the tide started shifting, because people were like, I don't know why there would be a kid in the back of your car. Like, a body in the back of your car already is like, whoa, but like a kid, that's even worse. The real issue started coming up though when TMZ started revealing, TMZ of all people, breaking news like this, started revealing the connections that Celeste has to David. Specifically the fact that both he and her, the child that, like, you're not even able to, I'm going to get into my critique. Him and the kid had matching tattoos on their index fingers that said, shh, this is a common tattoo. Many people have it, including Rihanna, but Rihanna is a grown-ass woman. How did a 13 to 14-year-old get a tattoo in the first place? And I understand, a lot of my friends that have a lot of tattoos, because I have 7, and they were all very expensive. But usually, if you're getting your tattoos done in a shop all the time, it's kind of a sign of wealth because, oh my God, that is so much money. But a lot of people who have tons of tattoos, they just know somebody who has a tattoo gun. They have stick and pokes. They have people that just do them, illegally on the side. There is no shop you can go into when you're under the age of 18 that you can just get a tattoo. I'm pretty sure the only exceptions are if you're like 16 to 17 with a guardian. And even then, it's very, very frowned upon. You don't just get a tattoo when you're a middle schooler. So 1, why does she have a tattoo at all? 2, you have a matching tattoo with a grown man and you were found dead in the back of his car. So that's when I started turning to David. The mother, who was fully aware that her daughter was missing, said that her daughter, that the one that went missing when she was 13 years old, her boyfriend's name was David. So now it's getting even scarier because it's like, this is too many coincidences. A lot of people believed, David's getting framed because the body was just found in his car. That doesn't necessarily mean that, he put it there or anything like that. It was found within a mile of his home that he was staying in LA. And then on top of all of that, he owned the car. The mom is saying that she had a boyfriend named David, all these other kind of things. And what frustrates me a lot about this situation is that girl never had a fighting chance. It seems like things were not going well at home. And then she was exploited not only by David, but by the music industry, by all of these people protecting this literal predator, because this is not uncommon. And what frustrates me so much is that in the event that she didn't pass, I don't think this would have been discovered, really. I don't think this would be as deeply scrutinized. I think that he would have done what a lot of people in the music industry do and just continued to groom her to a point that she turned a suitable age, and then he would be public with the relationship, if that's what you want to call it. It's so disturbing. There's a lot of other details related to the case that bother me. The most recent update as of today, September 25th, is that his place in LA was raided and that he has now vacated the place. The place was $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month. Okay, side note, I don't care how much money I have. I'm just going to buy a place. Maybe that's the mortgage price. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. But I'm pretty sure that's a rental. Yeah, oh my gosh. He was renting a $4 million mansion in Los Angeles that was $20,000 a month, and he just broke the lease after the raid. I don't care if I am making billions upon billions of dollars. I am never paying several thousands in rent. I'm just going to buy a place. Sorry, that's crazy. But anyway, this isn't about that. That was just a weird fact that I saw. So he's moved out of the place. The reason that people are looking at this crazy is, the matching tattoo. People saw the writing on the wall. Basically, there's an understanding that David had some kind of sick relationship with this girl. And supposedly he met her when she was 21. He met her in 2021 when she would have been 11 years old. He had a Discord server where he would talk to his fans and stuff. And he and his fans, not all of them, but the person that people are suspecting was Celeste in the Discord server, had an 18 plus, okay, so on Discord, it's a gaming server based, it's kind of like Skype, but with more servers and threads and stuff. It's like a mix of Skype and Slack if it were for gamers. So you can have little roles on your stuff. Some of the roles are joke roles. Some of the roles are important for you to know. And in a lot of Discord servers, I know, I'm a Discord frequenter. They'll have you mark if you are 18 plus or under 18. In some Discord servers, they have you actually age verify with an ID, which I'm in a few of those, and people hate that. And I understand why. But it's situations like this why people feel more obligated to do, because kids get through the cracks. Even though I don't think this was a case of her lying about her age, I think that it was intentional on his part, hey, you need to lie about your age because this doesn't look good for me kind of thing. That aside, she had the 18 plus role on her Discord server. What that means is that she can access any part of the Discord server that caters specifically to adults. That could mean, sensitive content such as swearing or gore or graphic depictions of violence, but usually that means sexual stuff. And you have the adult in the situation, David, because yes, he is younger. He's 20 years old, but that's still pedophilia. You're saying that you potentially met this person when they were 11. You would have been 16. You're a predator. And then you flaunted it to, there's so many stories coming out now of people from the Discord server, people who knew of David early on in his career, because he wasn't always a singer. He used to be a Twitch streamer. He used to stream, or was it Twitch streamer? I know he was a Twitch streamer. And he was also a YouTuber because he was really good at the game Fortnite. And he would post his Fortnite highlights from his games, and he was putting like copyrighted music behind the highlights, and basically UMG, Universal Music Group, kept taking his money, kept taking his AdSense because he was using their music. And he went to his mom and he complained and he said, "Mom, I'm losing so much money on, they keep taking my money. Whoever UMG is, they keep taking my money every time I use this copyrighted music." And it was his mom that said, "You should just make your own music and put it in the background of your stuff." So he started making his own music just so that he could continue being a streamer or continue being a YouTuber. And it just so happened that it attracted this cult following because they liked the vibe. And then this is aside from the main storyline related to this case, but I'm sorry if you hear that dog outside. Part of the reason that this went under the radar for so long is because art, as it should be, is free. Not free as in monetarily, but free as in like you are free to say and do whatever you want in the name of art. And a lot of his art had to do with darker themes of homicide, gore, violence, death. And he had this whole like alter ego. His whole storyline that he was doing through his album was that he is himself, David, and then he has an alter ego called Itami, which means death in Japanese. Let me fact check that. Hold on. Can y'all just tell me what Itami means? Pain. Okay. So he's an anime nigga, as you can clearly see. But anyway, he had this alter ego called Itami. Itami means pain in Japanese. And Itami, in his music, goes around killing people. And then David, as himself, has to go and solve the crimes and everything. And it was all over his work. He would do blood spattered merch. He would do what's it called? He had caskets at his shows. He would have people pay their respects to the dead at his, like, a lot of death, a lot of macabre, a lot of stuff like that. And as a Black alt person, I think that this story has blown up so much now that there are so many normies being like, well, couldn't you see it in his messaging? No, because for a lot of alt people, it's not like that. Some people just like the macabre. Some people like, oh my God, when I was in undergrad, the amount of bitches I knew that just, they loved a good cemetery, not my vibe. But a lot of people like that. They like, what is it called? Thanatourism is a really, really big thing in a lot of subcultures in a lot of cities. I just hate, I mean, there's much more important things related to this situation to hate. Mostly the pedophilia and the girl that was murdered. But I hate the ways in which this stupid, corny ass bitch has made it now that alt people have to, it's just more of the police state. Oh my God, you're into creepy shit. Oh my God, you're wearing too much black. Why do you have to be strange? 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 These people aren't killing people for real. But you have to do it. Why? Why, David? That's so weird. You're a weirdo and you're a pedophile. It's like bad enough. It's like bad enough you're a murderer and you're a pedophile murderer, allegedly. Ha, can't sue me. But it's just like, what? I just hate that. I hate that, like, now there's gonna be this kind of microscope on people that were enjoying his music or enjoying his aesthetics or stuff like that, because it's like people who enjoy these things, like it's the same thing with like BDSM or like certain fantasies, certain sexual stuff. That doesn't mean that they want to inflict that upon others. Guys, you know what I mean? It's just like, ugh. Anyway, back to the main point. It's horrible. There's been a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, both from his Discord server, people who went to school with Celeste, who are saying that they were fully aware of his relationship with her, to the point that somebody posted a picture on Reddit of him literally paying children off to not talk about the fact that he was dating a 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old. Some people, again, this is all alleged, some people are theorizing that because we have no evidence, we have nothing right now. Or at least if there is evidence, the police have not released it yet. And commentary YouTube and commentary TikTok, they are more so, and true crime TikTok and YouTube, they're seeing this more as like a cash grab situation. So they're like, oh boy, like I'm going to just reiterate the same things over and over about this case that people have already heard before because there's no new updates to the public, because I just see this as a way to promote my brand and promote myself. And it's really disturbing how this girl was abused all through her life. She didn't even get to be a child. She never got to be an adult. And her entire existence, from her life to her death to her posthumous existence, has just been for what am I trying to say? Like deriving content from it and exploitation. It's very disturbing. So there's a lot of people talking about the situation right now, but there is no real update on it. And I don't plan on talking about this outside of like letting you guys know what's going on, because I think it is really disturbing the ways in which people are just so excited to be like, oh, there's a new update. There's a new update. Oh my God, it was in front of us all along. He put all these creepy little signs and he did all, guys, these are not signs. Example, his song Romantic Homicide came out months prior, but the music video for Romantic Homicide didn't come out until September 7th of the year that it came out. What is September 7th? It was the little girl's birthday. That's not a sign. That's not like I think a lot of people are like SVU brained and they're like, oh, you know, this is a sign from the killer. He's trying to be this mass serial killer that's putting all these, like, I don't think that's evident of that. I think that's love bombing. I think that's specific messaging made for the victim, because when you're 12, 13 years old, dating an older dude that's grooming you, and he's telling you stuff like, I'm going to release this on your birthday and it's going to be our little secret. And you got the shush tattoos and like that means a lot to a teenage girl. I don't think this is a, oh, wow, he's been self-reporting all over the place. I don't think it's that. I think it's genuinely, he's sick. I think he's disturbed and he's like, oh, this will be a great way to continue to manipulate her. Another thing, this is the part that was actually really creepy to me, that I was like, I don't even want to interact with this. Okay. So a lot of people are getting really upset about the fact that David's streams have gone up like really, really high since the announcement of all of this, since the body was in his car, since the body was identified and everything. And like, I get it to a point, but I think a lot of people just didn't know who he was, and they're just trying to contextualize things. People are like, oh my God, don't give him a stream, go to Genius. Guys, it happened with R. Kelly. It happens with all of these people. It happens with all of these people, especially when they are talking specifically about what they're doing. People just want to hear it for themselves. That being said, I didn't stream it on nothing crazy like Spotify, Tidal, you know, Apple Music. I didn't do anything like that. But I did watch his music videos because people were talking about how macabre he is. And I was like, I want to see it for myself. I want to hear the lyrics. I want to, you know, do whatever. In multiple of his videos, specifically the ones I'm thinking about are Romantic Homicide, Here With Me, and Sleep Well. Every single girl that he puts as his love interest looks exactly like the girl that was found in the back of his car. That was when I was like, this is horrifying, because this is like obsession. Not only obsession, this is like love bombing to the max. Like, this is grooming, because how special must you feel as a teenage girl to be getting this level of shout out, but not an actual shout out. You know what I mean? Not saying her name, not actually bringing her to the public space or anything, because he's smart enough to know that's a no-no. But also, you're shouting her out enough subtly to be like, this is our little secret. This is our little thing. I'm going to put a little, oh my God, it's so disturbing. I can't even, like, when I was doing, I don't want to say doing research, but when I was looking around for stuff related to this case and this situation, and I saw how similar the models and the actresses in his videos looked to that little girl, that was really what broke my heart. I started tearing up. I was like, that is horrible. Because it's like, even if I'm not, you know what America likes to pretend, innocent before proven guilty. But dude, this little girl, because people keep calling her a woman, this 14-year-old girl is found dead in the back of your Tesla. And then you have multiple romantic music videos about homicide and death that feature women that look exactly like the little girl in the back of your car. I can't even imagine. It's horrible. It's horrible. I know I was going to talk about some of the theories that people have around like what happened, but I don't even think I'm going to feed into that, because honestly, I think, I was really critical about content creators and stuff that are like milking this case to death. I think part of the issue is that the internet and smartphones and social media have made us very, very numb to the real impact that a lot of these situations have, one. And two, we all have such an obsession with instant gratification to the point that people want their info now. And it's like, it's not going to be like that, because the police need to do a very thorough investigation to make sure that if they bring a case against this millionaire, this literal millionaire, this person that is so deeply famous, that they're going to nail him. They can't afford to fuck this up, because you do one thing. We saw this in the Luigi Mangione case where they got him on fraudulent terrorism charges. There's a chance they have to throw out his entire murder case because of the rules around double jeopardy. Legal scholars are still trying to deliberate on it, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you really want to nail a guy, like, and you want to make sure that the book is thrown at him, you need to keep a lot of information tight to your chest, and you need to be extremely thorough with your investigation. But a lot of these people, especially because David has such young fans that all they know is the internet and Fortnite and TikTok and all these things, they want their information now. They're like, what's happening? Why isn't he arrested? Why don't we know more about this case? And it's like, that's not our business, y'all. Imagine a lot of people don't have sympathy for her mother in this situation, because they feel like, how could you have known that she had a boyfriend? Somebody saying that they have a boyfriend at 14 is enough of a concern for a lot of people. Why would you even co-sign this idea? You know what I mean? And I hear them. I really do. But at the same time, you never know. Like, okay, I don't want to fully defend her parents because I don't know the full situation. And what I'm going to say is going to seem parasocial in nature. But I'm going to say from experience, not as in I was dating older people, but I have seen girls who date older men. I've seen teenagers that date men in their 20s. I've seen men in their 20s grooming teenagers. They lie a lot because that's what they want to do. They don't have the mental, wherewithal to say lying is bad, or this might have consequences that I have not yet foreseen. You know what I mean? So it's like as an adult, you're just not going to know everything that your kid is getting into. And that's what's scary about parenting a lot of the time. I know there's very little sympathy being sent the mother's way, but I bring all that up to say, imagine that being your daughter. Your daughter has been lost for over a year, and now you found out just recently that she was murdered, and now everyone's making it into this big spectacle where there are people who are messaging the girl's brother on Facebook, or doing little stunts trying to get to the mother, or trying to walk by the mansion, or trying to be near the crime scene just for like Reddit karma and like likes on a TikTok post. It's really disturbing, and we have to get out of this culture of needing instant gratification or feeling entitled to certain conversations or certain, you know, it's just sick. So yeah. This isn't even going into the fact that the lyrics in his songs, a lot of them have very scary messaging. This isn't even going into the fact that David has a rumored unreleased song that is about Celeste. This isn't even about the fact that apparently, like, okay, again, alleged. I don't know all these facts, and I shouldn't know all of them because these are strangers, but there's also a theory that he started dating another person named Celeste who is of age that looks very similar to the little girl in order to cover when he's talking about Celeste in these songs, or when he's talking about he has these messages about Celeste and stuff like that. Like, there's so much involved that the internet has brought about, and it just bothers me how many people failed and continue to fail this little girl, because I don't think that that's being contextualized enough, how little and how, like, first off, 71 pounds. That is such a tiny child. And then secondly, you barely scraped past 10 years old. I can't, again, the facts are going to be the facts. I could be proven completely wrong next week or tomorrow. But as of right now, it's looking like homicide, alleged homicide. And I can't imagine being discarded like trash at an impound lot. It's so disturbing to think about. And because a celebrity is potentially on the other end of this issue, no one seems to have the care and the tact around that conversation. It's very disturbing. So yeah, my thoughts are with her family. My thoughts are with anybody who was a friend of hers. My thoughts are with those who went to her school that have to hear about how sensationalized this has become, how deeply, like, it's just very disturbing. And we have such a predator problem in these music circles because, again, I can't shake the feeling that in the event that she did not end up dead, nobody would have cared. And that's what's really sad to me. I think of the ways in which, think about the age that Jay-Z was when he started dating Beyonce. Think about Jerry Seinfeld. Think about Elvis Presley. Like, there's so many people in the entertainment industry that get away with this kind of thing all the time. And it's really sad. So rest in peace to Celeste, and maybe I'll come back with an update if there's something that's like genuinely really crazy that happens in this case. But I feel like most people see the writing on the wall, and he doesn't have many defenders left at this point. And why would he? You know what I mean? Oh, I want to be able to listen to my shitty macabre music, so he can't be a murderer. Come on, guys, you don't know him. So yeah, just really sad stuff. But I wanted to talk about it because it is one of the biggest conversations that's going on the internet right now. I'm going to end here today. Very heavy episode. I feel like the episodes have been getting more and more. I feel like, okay, all of my episodes are pretty politically charged, but as of late, the news cycle has been so political that it's been very difficult to talk about much anything else. Like I said, at the beginning of the episode, I talked a little bit about, the highlights and a lot of the stuff that's been going on in my life that I've really enjoyed. And I'm happy about those things. But this news cycle, man, something is really shifting. And again, I really like that TikTok I saw. I wish I could save it because I really wanted to put it on my Instagram story, but I'm going to find the link and I'm going to put it in the description of this podcast across all platforms so everybody can see it. Because it really it really hammered in my brain why I'm not a doomer and why I can't be a doomer. My life is predicated on the life of my ancestors. And it's like, could you imagine if the people that were leading these rebellions back during the days of chattel slavery, back during the days of the enslavement of Haitian people, just decided to be doomers about everything? Like, no, a new life is possible. Power shifts happen. They just happen to appear like collapse when you are in a society that is prone to inequity. So when people get into power, or people take their power back, or decide, yeah, we're not going to go with the status quo, it feels like a shift, like a very violent shift, even if it's not necessarily detrimental. So maybe that means something to you. Maybe you're just like, Vic, I don't know what the hell you are talking about, but good for you. All I'm saying is that please don't lose your head in this latest news cycle, because like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, stuff is always happening. It's just the internet makes it seem as if things are happening more and more now than they ever have, and that's just not the case. I hope to be back again in 2 weeks to keep talking with y'all. I have a lot more thoughts on everything else. Bonus episode coming out soon. I'm going to talk about Tylenol. I'm going to talk about autism. I'm most likely going to talk about Cardi B and the ways in which fans feel obsessed with the womb of their favorite female rapper all the time. Not sure. Whatever I feel like. But it's been great talking with y'all, even though the subject matter has been a little heavy. And, feel free to hit me up at any time about any kind of topics that you want me to go over. Thank you guys for continuously seeing me, listening to me, talking to me, letting me know that you've streamed the episodes. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.